this is likely going to be the last episode in the series until next year.
Okay, look. I didn't think I'd be making another one of these so soon either. I fully planned on letting this series rest until next summer or something, but then you guys had to go and get me to 10,000 subscribers. I can't thank you all enough for the support recently, so to celebrate, I thought I'd bring back weird and creepy YouTube channels for a special episode. For those of you who haven't seen one of these before, this is a series where I take a look at some strange, mysterious, or downright disturbing YouTube channels. They can be anything from ARGs, analog horror series, weird art projects, unexplained mysteries, and anything in between. As usual, I'll be taking a look at 4 channels, one of which being a user suggestion. Speaking of user suggestions, if there's any channels you'd like me to talk about in this series, please let me know in the comments. I read every comment, and I'm always looking for new spooky channels to talk about. Before we begin, as always, please remember to not harass any of the channels I talk about in this video. This video is purely for entertainment. It's not that serious. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps me out. But now, without further ado, let's get right into the first channel. Okay, so normally I don't start with user suggestions, but this project is so cool that I almost made a standalone video about it. Briscoe Park was suggested to me in a comment on the last episode, and the series itself is just a bunch of videos of this guy exploring abandoned buildings. But there's something watching him. You can call it analog horror if you want, but to me, this is classic found footage horror, and it's done so goddamn well. So well, in fact, that for a while I thought this was 3D animated. But no, going off of Briscoe Park's Twitter, this is all genuine footage. How they got their footage to look like this is beyond me, but the effect is fantastic. The darkness surrounding every building they explore gives these videos a dreamlike quality, reminding me a lot of some liminal space imagery. The first video I'd like to show you is also the first on the channel, titled Tape 04, and is pretty uneventful aside from a pigeon jump scaring the cameraman. Some footsteps are heard at the end, but immediately afterwards the cameraman leaves the building, so we never find out what it was. Oh, and there's one frame of a code around 2 minutes and 26 seconds in. This leads to some CIA documents about theories relating to other universes, which I believe is the central theme of this series. The dreamlike feel and liminality of these videos tie into this, as what are dreams, if not another reality? Moving on to the next video I want to show you, Tape 09 shows us some outdoors footage. This includes a bridge, which I believe Briscoe Park also posted about on Twitter, but more on that later. Eventually our cameraman enters another abandoned building. This one feels off though, as it still looks lived in. It's far too clean to be abandoned, but if it's not abandoned, why is nobody here? There's a few instances of what appear to be faces outside, but frankly, I'm not sure if those are faces. That's the beauty of Briscoe Park, and also why I wanted to show you this video specifically. The horror is so atmospheric that it hides all of the actually creepy things going on, like possible faces in the windows. The real horror of Briscoe Park isn't some scary monster following the cameraman. It's that there might be something hiding in the dark, in the silence, that might be following us. Let's go back to that Twitter post I mentioned. Now, I'm not 100% certain this is the same bridge, since although they look similar, Tape 09 was uploaded almost a year before the tweet was made. Regardless though, this tweet reads, "It's following me still," which outright confirms that something is following the cameraman throughout these videos. Whatever it is, we can actually see it in Tape 10, if just for a moment. The rest of Tape 10 is relatively uneventful, as there's not even any urban exploration this time, which makes me think our cameraman, or rather, protagonist, isn't just exploring for the sake of it. Maybe he's looking for something, and whatever is following him is trying to keep that thing hidden. That's just a theory though, and if you want to see for yourself if the theory is correct, you should check out Briscoe Park on your own time. I do think I'll probably make a more in-depth video on this channel someday, since I really do love its content, but this is as far as I'll go. I do have 2 more videos I want to show you because of how great they are, but I'll just be focusing purely on the visual contents, rather than any possible story they could have. Tape 23 and 24 are the 2 newest uploads on the Briscoe Park channel, and 23 is more of the usual ambient found footage horror. We're exploring an abandoned building, as usual, and eventually the protagonist heads out and towards another building. And then this happens. I didn't cut anything, by the way. This is how the video cuts. This is by far the most ominous visual I've seen out of Briscoe Park, and it makes me think that maybe this story is starting to come to a close. That remains to be seen though. All that I can say for sure right now is that tape 24 picks up where the last left off. The protagonist actually heads into that abandoned building from the end of tape 23, which looks like it's actively rotting and falling apart. It's easily one of the most dilapidated buildings we've seen in this series. However, there's no sign of that red room from the last video, so for the time being, this is the end of Briscoe Park. If you want my thoughts on what this whole thing means, in short, I think Briscoe Park is about some sort of researcher looking for anomalies. I've neglected to mention the video descriptions until now, but they all mention a submission report, usually talking about some sort of disturbance. Maybe this is an SCP Foundation sort of thing? Whatever the case, I do think the protagonist is definitely looking for something, rather than just exploring for the sake of it. Honestly, these videos remind me somewhat of Marble Hornets, both because of how they're shot, and because of their actual content. And if you're reminding me of Marble Hornets, you're doing something right. Anyway, like I said earlier, I am going to likely revisit Briscoe Park at some point, so hopefully by then I'll have a more concrete answer for what this all means. Until then, all I can say now is that this is atmospheric horror done at its absolute peak. If you love found footage horror, or liminal space horror, you should check out Briscoe Park. In the past year, my YouTube recommended has been showing me videos from smaller creators more and more frequently, which I actually think is a great change. It's helped me find some great topics for the series, showed me some cool animations, and helped me find some genuinely good videos by channels even smaller than my own. Hell, I'm sure for some of you, you found my channel in the same way that I've found these smaller channels. I bring this up because while working on this video, I found a channel which isn't the most interesting, all things considered, but I want to show it to you anyway. Somebody is a channel which uploads these short videos featuring very liminal imagery and calm music. It's sort of similar to Nathaniel Hess, which I mentioned in the last episode, but unlike Nathaniel Hess, there's nothing deeper going on here. No ARG, no deeper themes, just videos appealing to a particular aesthetic. It just so happens, though, that this is an aesthetic that I love. Now, to quickly address the elephant in the room, this is not a super obscure channel. They have almost 200,000 subscribers, and this is by far the most popular channel I'll be talking about tonight. In terms of subscribers, anyway. I'm using this channel more as an example of something, which I'll cover in just a second. Regardless, the main thing of note here is the titles of these videos. Or rather, the lack of them. I won't pretend this is anything new, people have been doing this for years, but this is why I initially clicked on one of somebody's videos. Enough yapping about what this channel is, let me just show you the first video I saw on this channel, which happened to be the newest. We can see an angel statue standing in what appears to be a snowy field, and the background is completely red. There's nothing else going on here, and yet it's still a bit unnerving, right? Maybe it's just the distorted music, maybe it's the strangeness of the visuals, but I find this video to be ever so slightly unnerving, and relaxing at the same time. That's part of why I wanted to show this channel to you, because although one could consider the visuals in somebody's videos to be a bit generic, I think they've actually mastered the vibe of this liminal aesthetic. Abandoned grocery stores, snowy fields, and more classical backrooms-esque areas. They all create a beautiful sense of liminality, the feeling of transition between two places or periods of time, that I personally love. Now, like I said a moment ago, the visuals are a bit generic in some of the videos, but I don't think that's really a bad thing. Some of these videos, like the angel one, this other one with a red sky, and these ones featuring statues, all have a more unique visual identity to them, so clearly, this person knows how to make more striking visuals. Now, remember how I said the whole no title thing isn't unique to this channel? I brought that up because when I found somebody, I found two other really similar channels which also use the whole no title gimmick. I'm not accusing them of stealing, since they definitely aren't. I only bring this up because I want to make it clear that this is not the most unique channel out there. You can find plenty of channels uploading these liminal videos with blank titles. Some good, some bad. So what makes somebody special? Why am I talking about it over other channels doing similar things? Would you be upset if I told you it was just because I liked it? Because really, that's the entire reason I wanted to talk about it. Originally, I was going to make this a section covering multiple of these no-title channels, but I felt it was a bit too negative for my tastes. Obviously, criticism is fine, and I don't shy away from criticizing things, but the whole point of this series is to show you cool, somewhat obscure, spooky channels that you may not know about otherwise. So really, does it matter that these videos I'm showing you are a bit derivative? No. After all, what is art if not deriving from the past? Before we move on, I will say that of all these no-title channels I've seen, this is probably the best. The visuals are done well and thankfully are using actual photos and videos instead of AI-generated imagery, and the song choices as well are great. There's one video in particular featuring what appears to be a ghost town, and the song they used is absolutely haunting. It fits perfectly with the image, and that is why I wanted to show you this channel. Are there other channels doing this whole liminal space or dreamcore aesthetic? Yes, obviously. Are there other channels trying to be all mysterious by using blank titles? Yes. But somebody is doing it better than most channels I've seen, so if you enjoyed this aesthetic, like I do, I think it's worth checking them out. Just don't expect anything deeper, since what you see is what you get. I tend to avoid talking about more well-known channels in this series. I know I just talked about a channel with 200,000 subs, just bear with me. But I wanted to make an exception to talk about a channel I've enjoyed for a long time. Memory Hole is a channel that on the surface appears very strange, but once you hear how it came to be, it becomes a lot easier to understand. Created by the people behind Everything is Terrible, a group who edits together old clips from VHS tapes, Memory Hole is a collection of rejected tapes from America's Funniest Home Videos, edited to be even more creepy and bizarre than they already were. If you were familiar with the weird side of YouTube around 2016, there's a decent chance you saw some of their videos, or at least heard about them from Scare Theater's video. The videos themselves are usually about a minute long, and are either a collection of unrelated clips, like the ones present in the video Die, or have a bit more of a theme to them, like the ones present in Clowntown. Some of the videos are just one or two clips, like the first video they uploaded, Chinless Dancer, where a guy dances while hiding his chin, and then the video cuts to a horrific pigman. One of the more iconic videos is called Shaving Cream Torture, which is 35 seconds of a, I believe, mostly unedited video of a man covered in shaving cream holding an 8-ball in his mouth. It then cuts to a bunch of babies in pumpkin costumes, and there's a whole outro at the end, but I'd rather focus on that shaving cream thing. We can see in the first few frames of the video that there was more to this clip, presumably of this guy covering himself in shaving cream, but we only really get to see this bizarre part with the 8-ball. Remember what I said about this channel being a collection of rejected America's Funniest Home Videos clips? That goes for this clip too. Somebody actually submitted this absolutely horrifying clip of, well, shaving cream torture to America's Funniest Home Videos. I suppose maybe it's funny in a more abstract sense, and I am pretty sure this was edited to be longer than normal, but still. I'm reminded a lot of that old terrifying Little Baby's ice cream ad, you know the one, but I think this might actually be more terrifying. At least the Little Baby's ice cream ad had an explanation, it was just a weird ad. But this? There's no explanation for this. Somebody just did this. And for some reason that scares me. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit. This video is not really that scary, but it's easily the most disturbing on the Memory Hole channel, at least from what I've seen. There's other weird unexplained clips, sure, but for the most part they aren't that creepy once you know where they came from. The shaving cream clip just seemingly defies explanation, as I really can't wrap my head around how someone submitted it to a show that's supposed to be funny. If you need an example of another creepier video that does make a bit more sense, look no further than Wormhole Grandpa. This is another more well-known one, and without the sound effects added, it'd be a lot less creepy. I'm sure in context, this is a perfectly normal clip that was rejected for just not being very funny. There's one more video I want to show you, which is called Halloween Forever and Ever. It's not any more interesting than the other videos on Memory Hole's channel, its most interesting aspect is that it's 4 minutes long, but I think it's a great example of the vibe this channel gives off. All of these clips, both in this Halloween video and on the entire channel, are so strange and creepy in the exact same way that a lot of old Adult Swim bumpers are. Like Memory Hole, these are usually strange clips presented without context, and edited a bit to make them more off-putting. One that immediately comes to mind for me is this bumper of an uncanny robot face, which genuinely feels like a clip Memory Hole would include in one of their videos. Going back to that Halloween Forever video, there's several clips which give off the same vibe as that Adult Swim bumper I mentioned. Like this one at the end of a guy in a lizard mask, this one of what I think is a prosthetic mask, and this clip of... Honestly, I don't know what the fuck is happening here, but I could totally see this being used in a bumper. My point with all of this is that I love the strange pseudo-Adult Swim aesthetic Memory Hole has, and that's exactly why I wanted to share this channel with you. If you couldn't tell by the bumper right before this segment, I'm a huge enjoyer of Adult Swim, its bumpers, and anything that tries to emulate that same aesthetic. I think Memory Hole does a great job at creating the same weird off-putting feeling, though I think the videos do tend to go a bit too far into the creepy side of things. Not that I dislike creepy things, this video wouldn't exist if I did, I just think it kind of takes away from the more weird stuff. Anyway, if any of what I've said sounds interesting to you, please check Memory Hole out. There's a ton of videos I didn't mention, like one of my favorites, Royal Blood, but I'll leave those for you to discover. It seems like Memory Hole has slowed down a lot, as while they did upload one video last year, their last uploads before that were 4 years ago. It's a bit unfortunate, but I suppose maybe they just ran out of material. At least there's still plenty for us to enjoy. Back in Volume 2 of this series, I mentioned how I like that a lot of modern internet horror is themed around video games. I'm not going to act like this is some crazy groundbreaking concept, creepypastas have been doing this for over a decade now, but the past few years have been full of great horror series and ARGs based on games. I've already talked about a couple on my channel, but there's one I've mentioned in passing that's one of my favorites, and I think now is finally the time to talk about it. Super Mario 64 Beta Archive. This is a Super Mario 64 ARG, based on that whole every copy of Mario 64 is personalized thing from a few years ago, which I already think has huge potential for horror, and it's done super well here. Basically the idea is that Mario 64 has a personalization AI inside of it, which customizes the game based on the player's desires. You want Wario to be in the game? Wario is now in the game. That sort of thing. Like I said, it has huge potential for horror, though the most I usually see done in that front is just the Wario apparition and some other stuff closer to creepypasta. However, what makes the beta archive so good is that it focuses more on being unsettling than overtly creepy. Let's take a look at two of the most popular videos, Anti-Piracy Screen and Developer Crash Handler. They both feature fake screens with strange, or downright creepy in the case of the Crash Handler, renders of Mario. But that's it. No jump scare, no scary demon haunting the game, just an unsettling render, and the knowledge that something is slightly off with this copy of Mario 64. There's another video that does a subtle horror really well in my opinion, that being Developer Animation Showcase. On the surface, it appears completely normal, but if you read the description, it states that all of Mario's animations in the video are based on real-life reference footage, including this animation of Mario drowning. With all that said though, part of why this subtle horror works so well is that it's presented as being from the beta of the game. All these anomalies, like altered songs, animations, and renders, they can be explained by being early versions. Where that explanation slips a bit is in the videos focusing more on the every copy is personalized concept, where we're actually shown some gameplay footage, a la Petscop. Take early Castle Grounds for example, where we're shown footage of, well, a supposed beta version of the Castle Grounds, and the only real anomaly is the text that appears on screen. The horror here is that the personalization AI is taking something familiar to us, that being Mario 64, and only slightly changing it. Now, I will say, there was a larger story to this project. All of the videos are presented as being uploaded by a tester for Argonaut Software named Eric, who helped work on the beta of Mario 64. Eventually he's joined by Meg, who also worked as a developer, specifically on the GUI for the Wing Cap Tower, and from the last few videos, we can guess that the story was going to start involving a guy named Dan, who appears as a voice at the end of N64 employee tape. We can assume that he was likely a higher up at Argonaut, and was likely more involved with the personalization AI, judging by how he doesn't seem fazed by the mention of game sync in the employee tape. Going back to the Wing Cap Tower GUI, the video containing that says something was Eric's fault, but unfortunately, we'll never know what that was building up to. The last video uploaded to Mario 64 Beta Archive is called Summer 95 Build, referencing the supposed July 1995 build said to contain the personalization AI. The video itself isn't anything crazy, it's just Eric playing an early version of what appears to be Dire Dire Docks while talking to whoever he was going to send the tape to, but then the video just abruptly cuts shortly after he gets the star. As much as I'd like to say this was part of the ARG, it wasn't. Mario 64 Beta Archive was cut short prematurely due to internal drama with its creators. The team working on it was getting increasingly more and more fucked over by the director of the series, having to deal with harsher crunches to push out content faster, which they of course rightfully complained about. Once that info got out, everybody decided to go their separate ways, and the series was cancelled. In-universe is explained by Eric not having any more footage to upload, as he wants to go back to living a normal life, but the final community post is a rare out-of-character message posted by someone on the team, thanking everybody for watching. It's unfortunate that things had to end this way, as I truly believe this could have been one of the greatest YouTube horror series had it continued. The production value was insane, the idea was interesting, and they clearly had a lot of passion for the project at first. I guess it just wasn't meant to be though. I'm glad we got what we got, even if it didn't end in the best of ways. But with that, that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you all again for 10,000 subscribers, though it might be closer to 11,000 by the time this gets uploaded. It seriously means the world to me, and I can't possibly thank you all enough. I know you guys have probably heard that like 1,000 times, but seriously, thank you all so much. Back on topic, I'm going to put this series on hold for real now, but I got plenty of other videos in the works. If you only care about the ARG and analog horror related stuff, I have a video going over my issues with the analog horror genre in pre-production right now, and I have some ideas for videos going over individual channels in a more in-depth format. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and good night.